So hey YouTube, I wanted to start doing my own solar panel setup. It's just weird because I have like a raccoon running through my yard and it's probably got rabies. And because it's daytime and they're nocturnal, so that's probably not a good sign. But anyways, so the whole point of this video is for me to um, pretty much make a video blog or whatever you want to call it about my do-it-yourself solar panel installation struggles. So as you can see, what you're looking at here is the beginnings of a ground mount installation. And the construction of this part of the project isn't really all that complicated. If anybody's ever built a fence before, you pretty much just have to get a auger and bore out holes, and you want all the poles to be level and plumb and in straight lines. Well, with this, instead of like making it two rows all the same height like you would if you were going to be building, like, I don't know, a shed or a garage or something, with this, obviously they're two different heights so that they can have an angle at the end of the day. So you'll notice that obviously they're not all in line with each other, and the idea behind that is the tops will get cut off so that everything is nice and level by the time it's all said and done. We were just trying to get all these posts in the ground. I mean, we literally did this today, and I tell you what, I'm absolutely exhausted. So if I'm mumbling or repeating myself or anything like that, I'm telling you that I am beat, because I don't know if you can count there, but I'll save you the trouble. But there's 28 posts there that we had to dig down 3 foot deep with an auger and put cement in them, and oh my god, I'm just saying, that's some difficult work. It sucks. So I would like to say, first of all, that any person that's watching this video, that I've been in construction for a very long time. My parents owned rental properties, so even as a teenager, I was like remodeling houses and fixing windows and things like that. So I've been doing this kind of work for a very long time. I'm a master tile installer. So I mean, obviously that doesn't have a lot to do with building fences and things like that, but I have to use a tape measure on a daily basis and use a level on a daily basis. And and I've done everything from home building to electrical work, plumbing, you name it, I've done it. Doors, windows, trim, everything. I've been in this business for 15 plus years now, and that doesn't even include the experience that I had working on rental properties with my parents and stuff. So anyways, now that that's out of the way, so I will tell you that I started actually researching this probably at least 4 years ago, maybe 5. And at the time, the cost of everything was just astronomical, and it just wasn't remotely economically feasible to do it. So for whatever reason, a year ago, I started checking into the prices of solar panels and things like that again, and I had actually found a guy on eBay, of all places. I mean, I know people watching this are probably like, you bought solar panels off of eBay. But I will say that this guy is completely legit, probably the best experiences I've ever had buying large items off of eBay, because I tell you what, this is some of them here. This is a stack of them. There's 15 there. And then, there's another stack here. And this is only half of them. There's another half that are in my garage. And these solar panels they're UL listed. And I will say that that's very, very important. They're UL listed SunPower 340 watt high efficiency solar panels, and I think I paid like $120 a piece for them or something ridiculous, like 35 cents a watt shipped to my house. Well, actually, no, scratch that. They were not shipped to my house. I actually had to go pick them up from a shipping terminal close to me. But I made 2 separate purchases. I was able to get 60 panels total for, I don't know, $6,000 or something, which, if you do the math, 60 panels times 340 watts is a 20,000 kilowatt system, which is huge, massive. And I had mentioned the UL listing, and the reason why that's important is because if you want to get your solar panel system interconnected with your electrical company, they will not touch you if your equipment isn't UL listed. So you can't use like do-it-yourself solar panels that you make in your basement, stuff like that. You have to use stuff that has that UL listing. I forget what the number of it exactly is, but that's uber important. And that being said, with the electrical company, I didn't start doing any of this until after I had already done all my research, and I visited the electrical company's webpage numerous times, just looking over the process over and over and over again. And that being said, I've already submitted my paperwork with the electrical company, and I have my preliminary approval to start installing my system. I had to basically make a line drawing and a site plan, and fill out a bunch of paperwork, and I had to send them in money for a deposit for whatever reason is beyond me. But they want your money, no doubt. So the point of all this is that I had started thinking about this years ago, and and I've been planning and researching and saving money and doing this for months and months and months. So again, don't think that because you're here watching this video now that I just decided like a minute ago that I was going to have solar panels. No, I've been researching and planning for months, if not years. So, as you can see that I have, I've obviously decided on a ground mount system. This probably doesn't look that big on the video, but it's basically 8 foot from pole to pole in one direction, and from one end to the other it's about 101 feet. So it takes up roughly 800 square feet. Once the panels are actually on, it's going to be closer to 1,000 because they overhang the edges a little bit. So first of all, the reason why I decided to go this route was, well, here's my house. It's tough to really see because I'm close to it, but regardless, the the roof space isn't a tremendous amount. And you may ask yourself, like, well, why did I need to go with such a big system to begin with? Well, the answer to that is because I live in Pennsylvania, and we you're basically supposed to take your yearly kilowatt usage and figure out how many kilowatts that you can produce in a day. In basically, I forget what it's called exactly, but in PA we only get like 4 hours to 4.25 good hours of sunlight in a day. So I pretty much needed to be able to produce on average 60 plus kilowatts a day. So, well, actually, okay, to get technical, this system is actually only quote unquote 18 kilowatts, but that's just because that's the size of my inverters. And that's basically what they approved me on. You can't oversize your inverters with the electrical company. That's something that they would definitely flag you on. I have 20 kilowatts worth of solar panels, but once I'm basically gonna get it inspected and approved and everything like that, and then add in reconfigure the strings or whatever, and then add in the last 9 panels. So yeah, all right. So besides that, I didn't want to put a bunch of holes in my roof and obviously my yard is pretty big, so I have plenty of room to do this, and that played into my decision making. And that was pretty much it. Plus I could actually have a chance of like being able to clean these in the wintertime whenever it snows a little bit, instead of I'm not climbing up on there. It's just not gonna happen. So all right, so where do we go from here in this video? As far as like the location in my yard, the reason why I picked that spot is because, I don't know if you can tell, but my yard like slopes downwards from here down to there. So it's pretty much like the highest elevation in my yard, and you're supposed to ideally have your solar panels all facing south, and that way is pretty much south. So they're facing almost perfectly south. I actually think the one end of the array could have come forward like, I don't know, a couple of feet to make it angle closer to due south. But no matter what, having them in this type of a configuration versus having them on my roof, which, as you can see, that my roof doesn't have a lot of south facing angles. Like, honestly, this part is all east and west. That side does have one south facing, which is probably double what you can actually see there, but again, it's not ideal. And if you can see right behind there's a tree right there, so they would be like directly blocked by those 2 trees. And being there, yes, there are trees down here on this tree line, but the angle of the sun doesn't allow those trees to actually shade the area where the panels are. Now you can see behind this there's a tree line, and they will shade the panels early in the morning, and I'm going to have to do some additional trimming and stuff like that around them. Like, there's like a couple little saplings down there that I could probably get rid of, and there's like some mess behind it that looks like it might could possibly shadow the panels in a specific time of day, because it seemed like the end of the day there's like some long shadows that go across my yard. Like right now the sun's so low that that they wouldn't ever see any real sun this time of day anyways, but I mean, it's springtime, so it gets dark like around, I don't know, it's like 7:30 right now or something. So anyways, how did I get to this conclusion? The panels are going to have a 45-degree angle once they're installed. They're due facing south, 45-degree angle, And the point of that is because you're supposed to go by your, it's either your latitude or your longitude. I can't remember which one is which, but it's whatever is like your distance from the equator. Um, and where I live here in PA, the whichever one it is, it's about 40 degrees. Well, it is 40, and so I just figured it would made more sense from a construction standpoint to just say 45 instead of trying to like get those extra couple of degrees, which again aren't really going to make a whole heck of a lot of difference anyways. So um and using that being said, it actually made the construction simpler in the fact that it makes like a right triangle so that it's easier to figure out the sides of the triangle if it's out of 45 instead of trying to make it some random apex, or what is that what it's called, apex, I think. Probably wrong. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I was in high school. So anyways, but yeah, so that the distance between the poles gives me, I think the distance, if you would go from the topmost point of the pole on the left down to the topmost point on the right, that distance should be, what did I figure it out? 11.2, I think. And the rails that I got that are going to go up and down are they're okay with that. I researched the span that you can have on the rails. You know what? I'm not even going to get into all that right now. Maybe I'll talk about that more whenever I'm actually putting in the rails. So anyways, these are the panels. They're UL listed. I have been approved by the electrical company, and I put in all these posts to start to do the ground mount. I chose that location because it was probably the best spot in my yard that gets the most sunlight. We worked over there all day today, and I'm burnt, so I know it's getting good sunlight over there. And I will say there's a lot of preparation that goes into something like this, and you can hear me, I'm just like rattling on to that. The first thing that I did was I had to put in a solar panel in my basement because my main panel in my garage is completely slammed. There's no room in there at all, so I had to put in a sub panel. And again, I pretty much had to sit down on a computer, and which isn't a foreign thing to me. I'm in construction, but I love computers, and pretty much plan out every aspect of this entire job. Like these sticks that you see that are standing up, I actually have diagrams of the ground mount system that I'm building. Like I had already sat down, did the math. I measured these panels. They're I think they're 39 inches by 6'9", and I had to figure out how many rows and what orientation they were going to be, and how what every measurement was already figured out before I even did this. And really I was trying to go for like maximum efficiency with the size of the ground mount, because I wanted it to be smaller than this. I actually was trying to make it so that I was going to add like an extra panel and run them portrait mode. Yeah, skinny ways up and down. I was going to run them portrait mode and do 3 of them, but it required me to have like like the back leg had to be like 16 feet long from the ground to the top. And then I'm like, how the hell am I going to install these? Like, that's when I started to think, like, I'm going to have to get up off the ground like damn near 20 feet somehow with the overhang and everything else. And I'm just like, that's probably not going to happen. I mean, that was one of the things that like went into this. Like, what can I reasonably do with me and like one other guy helping me? Because that's basically what I got. And I mean, yeah, I could probably rent a machine or whatever, but it's like, for as much money as I have invested in all this, like every dollar counts. So to go rent a freaking lift for a day to do this, it's just like, you're just throwing your money in the air if you do that. And again, I have the space or whatever to do this, and this is basically just what it turned out to be, and it is what it is at this point. But like I said, I had this all figured out beforehand. I had the distances and the size of the poles that I needed. I even had like how many poles that I was going to need and everything else. And every aspect of this project has been planned out ahead of time. So if anybody's thinking about doing this, like, you better sit down and get serious and put some shit on paper, because you can't just be like, oh, well, I'm just going to put in some solar panels. I'm just going to dig this hole here. It's like everything is planned out. And again, like, to this point, I will say that everything has been more than worth it, because realistically, I probably have about roughly 10 grand into this project. And today's day one. But again, I have 10 grand into this project. There's probably $500 worth of lumber and cement up there, which is just, kind of a drop in the bucket compared to 10 grand. I spent $6 on all the panels. My inverters, I have about 2,000 into, and the rest of that money is basically on miscellaneous components. Like, I have combiner boxes that I'd already purchased, and I'm trying to think what else. I mean, I had to pay the guy that was working with me today. Oh, well, and I paid about $1,500 for the racking, the rails, and another maybe $300 in hardware to mount the panels and the rails. I bought the L feet and the all the clamps for all these panels, and that cost about $300. Besides that, I had to give the electric company $250. But either way, I'm around 10 grand at this point, and I'm eligible for the 30% return from the government. And I figure at the very maximum from this point, considering everything that I have bought, realistically, I am going to need more materials here to finish framing this thing together. But it's not going to be more than another $500 in lumber and screws and stuff. And then really I need conduit and wire. I'm sure there's probably other miscellaneous things like clamps to clamp conduit to walls inside of my basement and blah blah blah. And I guess I have a couple $100 in the into the sub panel that I put in. But either way, long story short, even if I have 12 grand into this thing, by the time it's all said and done, I get 30% of that back from the government. And my electric bill here is roughly $200 plus a month. It comes out to be around $2,500 a year. So even after I get my 30% back, I'll have my payoff period is only going to be a couple of years out, and then I'm going to still have this system for 20 years after the fact, provided that that tree behind it doesn't fall on the damn thing. But I think that tree is actually healthy, so that's good news. But, well, how did I come to that number? Well, it's pretty simple. I looked at my electric bill, and I've been keeping track of it for over the past couple of years, and it seems about, I use about 2,500 kilowatts a year, and if you figure that out per month and break it down to a per day, 18 kilowatts is pretty much the right number. But I do want to add in some other electrical appliances in the future too, so I did give myself a little bit of wiggle room. And my house is all electric. There's no gas service here at all, so that's part of the reason why my damn electric bill is so high. Lucky me, but in all reality though, when it's all said and done, if I can get my electric for free, then I'll be in great shape, because then that's like the only major utility that we have besides cable. So on our cell phones. Let me think if there's anything else that I didn't go over. I know there's not a whole heck of a lot of action in this video, but I figured, well, what's the point of me showing you guys, two guys digging a bunch of holes and stuff? It's, again, this isn't for rookies anyways. If you have limited or no construction experience, do not try to do this on your own. You're just pissing in the wind if you're doing that. You might as well burn your house down, because you're just gonna no, don't burn your house down. I don't even know why I said that. I'm tired. Ugh. Well, the reality is there's so much electrical work, and even like the technicalities of like figuring out how many watts per string, or how many amps and how many volts per string, and then how much they're going to be after they're combined. They want to know like all this information like ahead of time, and you got to have it like everything figured out to the T. And I tell you what, if you think you figured out some stuff, and then they turn around and try to figure out the same thing, and then their number is different, they're going to be like, you're done, no good. So next time, hopefully it'll be a little bit more entertaining. But again, I just wanted to talk about like how I got to this point, and maybe I'll show you guys. Maybe I'll make a video just talking about my experience dealing with the electrical company, because that was a whole other different can of worms. I honestly don't even think there was even anybody working there whenever, I don't even think they were working in the department whenever I was like filing my paperwork and stuff. It took them so long to get back to me. It took them over a month just to return an email for me. So, but yeah, that's a whole different story. So, I realize that this is a kind of a long-winded video, and there's really not a whole heck of a lot of action, but I figured I would just put this out there for anybody that fits the criteria that might find this interesting. So I'll just kind of keep updating as I go along, because this is kind of a long process. But right now I'm going to be like in hurry up and wait mode, because as soon as everything is done and installed and hooked up and ready to go, then you got to get an electrical inspection, and then you got to deal with the electrical company again, and they might want to come back and do their own inspection and stuff too. So, and it's like, God knows how long that's going to take. Between the time of getting the electrical inspection done and then contacting them again, it might be a month and a half before I'm actually given the go ahead to fire this thing up and get rolling. So, you guys are gonna kind of come along for the ride with me. If there's anything that I forgot to talk about, or any specific piece of information that you really want to know, then just put it down in the comments. I'm not really like a big YouTube person. I figure if I get a couple of views, then you know, good for me. If you don't like the video or whatever, then too bad for you. All right. Well, this has gone on long enough. Thank you so much. Bye.